Hello, Leapers, and welcome back to the Quantum Leap Podcast. I'm Albie, and with me is Chris. And today we are so honored to have the guest star, and she played Bridget Goody Smith in A Kind of Magic. We have Madalyn Horcher. How you doing, Madalyn?
I'm amazing. So happy to be here. Thank you so much, Albie and Chris.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Yes, thank you so much for being here.
Of course. It's my pleasure.
I want to talk about the episode. This is a really great episode. We all enjoyed it, but I want to find out more about you first. So tell me about your early career and what made you want to be part of the acting entertainment community.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a crazy choice to make, especially because all the rejection, but I loved it. I mean, growing up, I always felt that I leaned more toward the creative side. I did okay in school. I was actually, I loved being a student. So I really excelled in school, but I knew that I was just doing it out of obligation. But I thrived in the drama program and singing and piano and dance, all this stuff. I was like, this is what I'm meant to do. And I would watch shows and movies and I was like, oh my gosh, I could do that. I feel like I could be really good at that. But at the time I was living in Alabama. So not much opportunity there for the entertainment industry, sadly. But I just remember I was 12 years old. No, wait, scratch that. I was 10 years old and I walked into the kitchen and both of my parents were sitting at the table and I was like, hey, I'm going to be an actress. And they were like, that's so cute. And I was like, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I don't care what I have to do. I'm going to do it. So I started out just kind of researching auditions online. I would literally just go into Google and type in auditions currently casting. And it was just, obviously 90% of it were all scams. And they're like, if you pay us $4,000, we'll get you in front of the casting of Disney and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. But then by chance, I happened to run into an ad that said that they were casting this tiny kid show in Pensacola, Florida. And I was playing competitive soccer that frequently took me to Pensacola, Florida. So I was like, this is great. I'll tell my parents about it. And then they'll have to say yes because I've been bugging them for weeks about it. And they were so kind. They indulged me in that fantasy and they took me and it was a scam. We had to pay so much money, And I was like, let's do it. Let's just do it. I'm so excited. And they were like, you're insane. You are insane. But by the grace of God, it did actually work out because it led me to this acting competition, which I won. And the prize for it was to come out to California, see if you can get an agent and a manager. And the rest is kind of history. I signed with William Morris, which I was very shocked about. And the manager that I have till this very day, who has stuck it out with me through thick and thin, that man deserves an award because I'm so dramatic. And yeah, that's kind of the whole journey of me starting. And then it was many years of just a lot of crying and being like, why isn't this working? And then just, jobs here. And then my family ended up coming out officially to California. And then now my sisters are acting and it's now it's like a family thing. It's really great. So
you paved the way.
So
you went
I would like to think so.
You went from 10 years old and then you were 10 and a half and you won that contest and you've been in LA ever since.
I've been in LA ever since. It's so funny because initially in my mind, I was thinking you know what? I feel like I can be in LA for a few months and then I'll just book a bunch of jobs and then I'll go back home to Alabama and then I'll have some downtime. But it was not like that at all. The path to success is never linear. And all the plans that I thought that I had just got crumbled up and then thrown out the window, which is great because I feel like every job that I've done has prepared me for the next job and the next job. And it's just pushed me even further and to just work even harder. So I can't say that I'm too sad about the way that things went.
I should say not. I would hope not. No. So tell us about how you got onto Quantum.
Well, I got the audition, and I was like, it's so strange because I've always had a dream of doing something supernatural and then also doing something like a period piece. And it was just the irony of it was like, I had just been talking to like my two best friends about it. And I was like, I'm ready to do a period piece. I'm ready to do something where I have to wear like, those like colonial garb or something. I don't care. I just want to do something. And I ended up getting the audition like a couple weeks later. And I was like, okay, so I have to get this. I was just talking about this. And funny enough, Avi, the director of our episode, I actually worked with him years ago. I had worked with him for like on an episode of like MacGyver. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay, this is just like the stars are aligning. Like, I don't care what I have to do. I have to get this job. So I did the audition and I was extremely stressed because I was like, I want this to be perfect. It has to be perfect. And I don't know if you guys know this about life, but when you want something to be perfect and it just turns out it never is. So I was like, I did the audition. I'm crying. I was really upset. I was like, I hate this. I ruined this. I just completely ruined it. And I sent it off and I was just like, folding my arms, thinking about it, completely pondering the whole time. And I didn't hear anything for like days. And I was like, okay, well, I know how this is going to go. Let me just do a little, woo-saw moment so I can just get back on track and chill out and not feel so sad about it. Because normally I can jump back pretty fast now. But this one was like, it meant something. It was really special. So when I didn't hear anything for a few days, I was just kind of like, okay, whatever, just shake it off. It's not a big deal. And then I get a text from my manager and he's like, hey, just wanted to update you. You're pinned for the role. And I threw my phone. I was so happy. I started screaming. I called my sisters. I was at work at the time. And I called my sister and I was just like, dude, I pinned. Fingers crossed. Like, let's do this. And the irony too is that all of my sisters actually auditioned for some of the roles as well. The other 3 girls who were like completely attacking me, saying like, you're a witch and everything. Yeah. So I was really hoping that we all got to work together. And then I told them that I told my sister that I was pinned. And then a couple days later, I get a message in my Instagrams like from Avi, and he was like, hey, just don't get COVID anytime soon. And I was like, what does that mean? And I didn't want to pry too much because I was trying to like settle my nerves because I was like, oh my God, wait, what does that mean? And then like 20 minutes later, I get a call from my manager and he's like, you booked it. I screamed. I did the whole thing. It was great.
When you say that the role was special to you, was it just because of the period stuff, or were you already a fan of Quantum? Were you familiar with the show before you auditioned for it?
Yeah, I was familiar with the show. I had seen a few episodes. I wasn't watching religiously, but the second that I got the audition, because I wanted it so bad, I binged the whole first season, like in a day. I still have like the app and everything. And I was like, look, I constantly was just like watching, just because I was like, okay, what's the tone? How do I make this, to be as close to like what they're looking for as possible, which is hard, but it's like, I tried to just cover all the bases because I was like, I want this bad. And then once I watched it, I fell in love. I know that it's based off of a show, like off of the original Quantum Leap. And I was tempted to watch that one, but I was like, you know what? Let me not overload myself. Like, let's just watch this season and see how it is. And I mean, it's amazing. Ray is so talented, and just like the way that it's shot and all the characters that he gets to play, I just fell in love with it. It was amazing. But yeah, initially I knew of the show, but I had never really like watched it.
Was there any pressure going into this role, knowing you were such a big part of the episode, like the main guest star of it, and had to carry it for the most part?
Oh yeah. I feel like with, there's always such a huge responsibility anytime you step onto a show, especially one that's like, has a huge fan base. Also is like, it does really well. So I was like, okay, how do I want to do this justice. And I think, I myself am very much a perfectionist. So I was just like, I want to make this as, enjoyable, but also realistic as possible. And yeah, there was a huge responsibility, but I was grateful for it because I did a lot of research as well for like the time period. And funny enough, my character is actually based on a real person. The first woman to ever be like, killed in the Salem witch trials. They just changed her name. The original woman is Bridget Bishop, and I'm Bridget Goody Smith. So it was pretty like fascinating. I saw that and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not even just doing this for a show. It's actually like a real person who unfortunately lost her life to all of these trials. So I was like, I want to really do this justice. And I hope I did. And I hope that everyone thinks so as well.
Well, we think so.
Oh, yay. That makes me happy.
It being a period piece, did you do any like research about the time period and like so you knew how to like fit in or maybe get in the mindset of the character?
Absolutely. Mostly because I feel like during that time, women had such a particular role. And I feel like, you know, when a woman not only loses her husband, but is also being blamed for a lot of these, you know, deaths that are happening in the village, I was like, okay, like, what does that feel like? How restrictive, like, is she in her life? And also even like for the audition, I was like, do I have an accent? Should I do an accent? What do I wear? I was so confused as what to wear. And that cracked me up because luckily I had this like really uncomfortable, itchy wool sweater that I was like, you know what? She's probably so out of place, so uncomfortable. This makes me feel like I want to scratch my entire skin off. Like, this is great. This is perfect. It feeds me. And then because we wear bonnets in the show, because it's like during that time, you know, women had to cover their hair and, you know, be very respectful to the men and all of that. And so I was like, I don't have a bonnet, but I can just tie a t-shirt over my head. Let's just do that. And so it was like, it really fed me to kind of be, you know, research and see like everything that, you know, they had to go through. Plus on top of it being accused of all these, you know, heinous things, it was like, it really helped me a lot. It gave me a lot to work with.
What backstory did Bridget have in Margarita's script? And also what backstory did you add to your character?
Well, so it was actually very vague, I'll be honest. So most of the time in the scripts, they don't really like give you too much backstory. They just kind of give you the general, like, this is how old she is. This is what just happened. My husband obviously just passed away because he was sick. And, yeah, they just explain like, oh, she's this age, you know, she's a bit reserved, but maybe she finds her strength down the line. They were very kind of general. And so I was like, which I don't mind because I mean, it doesn't like, I feel like it doesn't pigeonhole me into one thing. And cause I don't want to get caught in like an idea of like, okay, I don't want her to be like, I'm a witch and all spooky and stuff. So I actually prefer that, you know, Margarita kept it very general. Cause I was able to really play with it and have fun and kind of create the world from the ground up, which is, I mean, it was just such a blast kind of working on it. It was stressful because again, I wanted it to be like perfect, but I think there was, you know, like looking back and, you know, seeing everything and actually rewatching my auditions and stuff, I realized I was like, you know what, as long as it had life, that's all I really care about. And my only backstory that I brought to it was, I mean, I think I've said it a couple of times, just like the responsibility of, you know, playing a real person, playing someone who actually, you know, went through this. And obviously like there isn't a lot on her historically, but I was like, well, that's fine because I can take what I have and then just build off of that and, you know, do it justice.
It seems to me that you were very cognizant of how dynamic the role was in the course of the series. But I mean, it was a dynamic shoot as well. Can you tell us a little bit about both the location shoot and I guess the studio shoot, because you had a lot going on. What was it like?
Oh my gosh, it was amazing. I mean, just the thought and the specificity that they put into every single environment that we had to shoot in was just like, that was mind blowing. I remember like walking onto set for the first time. It was like, I was in my wardrobe. I had my bonnet on and I just like, I had to take a moment to kind of like settle in because it just was breathtaking. They had goats, they had chickens, they had horses. There was like, everything was there. They had like cured meats hanging from these buildings. And I was like, there's so much detail that even if like I was, you know, because sometimes, you know, you go on set and you're like, oh, I'm not really in it today. I need to focus and everything. It wouldn't have mattered. You walked onto the set and you were like, I just walked into a time warp. This is so beautiful. So every single detail was so wonderfully thought out. I can't even imagine, like, it was just so incredible. And then working on the studios was even crazier too, because they had to build these really insane sets. They had to build like a cave, a dungeon. I mean, they put sand inside an entire entire stage. I was like, this is insane. This is so cool. And then we had like a courtroom and all this, and like a chapel. It was insane. So honestly, the set design for this episode, if I'm not going to watch anything, I'll watch just that. It was just so crazy.
What was the most challenging part of the shoot and bringing the character to life?
I would say the weather. It was really cold.
Yeah, we've heard about that.
It was actually really cold when we were shooting. And obviously we can't, during that time, we can't have like these big puffer jackets and we're just walking in on set like, hey guys, how is everyone? It was a little cold. So the weather was definitely a challenge, especially when we were shooting at night. We also had like a lot of, I guess, I wouldn't say stunts, but they were like, we had fire. We had a lot of like fire going on, to burn out the steak. And then we had rain. So all of those things, like I don't say they were challenging, but they were very dependent on the weather, because we used a rain machine, which did its job. We were all soaked by the end of it, but it was fickle, because if the wind was hitting it the wrong way, we couldn't turn it on. We couldn't use it. But then, because there's a scene at the very end where I'm, getting washed in the rain and everything's being cleansed and it's great. I was shooting that, and there was a moment where I was like, there's no rain. Where's the rain? And then I'm just sitting on camera, and it's like a super close up, just like waiting for the rain to fall. And it's because the wind was blowing the machine all the way on the other side. And I felt bad because everyone over there was like, is it rain? Why am I getting wet? And it's because the wind was pushing it onto that side. So yeah, everything else was great. It's just the weather.
That's funny. We're with the set design and so many background actors and the wardrobe, it being a period piece. Were there ever times where you felt like you had actually been transported back in time?
Oh my gosh, the whole time. Apart from when, so because my dress was so long and obviously we had to be mic'd up, I always felt like I was completely in that world until the sound people had to literally go up my dress and fix my mic. And I was like, oh, never mind. This is a shoot. We're doing this. But no, I honestly, I feel like I was so immersed into it the entire time. And I just feel really grateful that I was able to kind of experience that, because sometimes you don't get that. You always have someone either talking to you or you're very distracted. You can get very distracted on set. And I've never been in a situation where the sets weren't beautiful, but this was total immersion. It was complete immersion from the moment you stepped into your trailer to the moment you left and went home. Because it was shot on a ranch. So it was completely you were away from civilization. I had to put my phone away. I couldn't even use it. It was completely, there's no service. So it was great. I always felt like I was pretty immersed into it. And I don't know, that's just such a great experience for an actor.
Yeah, I'm sure that's got to be one of the coolest parts of the gig, right?
Oh my gosh, yes. Seeing the world come to life. I mean, because when you do auditions and stuff, you're just, sitting in your room with some lights, and then you have a reader and it's super cramped, and you're like, okay, now imagine you're in space. How do you do that? So being able to kind of see the world come to life with everything, I was like, oh my gosh, this is such a dream. This is a dream come true. If I was going to do any period piece, this is the best one to start with.
In this episode, for most of the episode, if not all the episode, you're paired pretty closely with Ray. What was it like being working with Ray every shot, every day?
Oh my gosh, it was amazing. He's the greatest. He really is the greatest. He's so funny too. That was probably, okay, now that I think back, that was definitely one of the challenges as well. Is because he's so funny. He's so funny. He'll just crack jokes in the middle of a take where I'm like, I have to be crying. Why are you making me laugh right now? And that was like the best part though, because he definitely got me out of like my comfort zone, and he was so welcoming for everyone just on the set. And that is one thing that I do tend to get nervous about, is like I'm stepping onto a show and the series regulars have been together for a while. Like I don't want to mess up their flow. And he was just a doll to work with. He's so funny. And seeing him in a dress with heels, it's just like so cool. Like I was like, this makes me so happy. Oh my gosh, that makes me so happy, because I would forget that he's like, when he looks in the mirror, it's a different person. It's actually, you know, I guess, what would you call her?
Wasn't she she was like your serving girl?
Yes, that's right. She helped me around. That's right. She was my servant girl. So it's like, I remember like the scene when she's like looking into the mirror and it's her. And I'm like, I forget that you're not playing you. And like, you looked like something different to me. And I would always have to remember that. But it was hard because I would just look at Ray and I'm like, oh, it's Ray. He's great. So funny. Yeah. I still chat to him to this day. And it's like, oh my gosh, he's just so amazing.
I think we just got a little bit of a scoop there, Albie, didn't we? Because you're saying that they did shoot a mirror scene with Ray?
They did.
Oh, yes. Because it didn't make the final cut. Huh.
Really?
So yeah, I don't believe
we saw.
You're not the cut we saw.
Ray.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So the scene where he like looks at himself in the mirror and you see who he is.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's Quantum Leap staple for the most part. But yeah, that's why
I would think too. I would think that they would keep that in there, because all the episodes that I would watch, they always had that classic where he looks in the mirror and it's like, that's what he looks like.
So maybe we'll get that as a DVD extra, or maybe it will make the cut. Everybody watching it now knows, or everybody listening now knows how it actually aired on the network. But the screener we got did not have that. So
yeah, we saw it first a few weeks ago.
Oh my gosh, I'm so jealous. That's so cool. I do know this, that because like obviously we went on strike like a day after we started shooting this. Well, the writers went on strike. And so the lovely Margarita, she could not stay with us. And I was like, dang it, you're so sweet. I love you. And so that was really sad. But we got to like, I remember like months passed and I was like, well, I don't know if this is like, when is this coming out? Like, is this still going to happen? So I ended up reaching out to our director, and he's told me, he was like, I have to let you know that we have to cut a lot of the stuff that we shot. And I was like, no, why? And he's like, because we're 7 minutes over for this episode. And I was like, it's fine. Just keep it. It's fine. Yeah. The world deserves to see all the hard work that we put into this.
We're going to need the content when we get back, right? So
yeah, exactly. Exactly. So that's so sad. That's crazy. But yeah, they did shoot a mirror shot. And so she's blonde. She's beautiful. I forget the lovely lady's name. Oh, I feel so bad. But yeah, she was such a sport on set, because she came on and she was there for like hours before they got to her shot. And then it's that awesome. And like, she actually had a witch hat on, because we have witch hats on when she looks into the mirrr.
Cool. Okay, so I guess that was the scene in the apothecary when you guys were okay.
Where we're kind of like, you know, he tells me about the charcoal and everything, and how to, you know, it cleanses the water and all that stuff. Yeah, and so that's when we shot that scene where he has the hat on and she has the hat on. That's so crazy.
Yeah, that was a cute scene.
It was a cute scene.
Yeah, 7 minutes over. That's crazy. And you haven't seen the episode, so there's no way for you to tell us what didn't make the cut.
I know. I'm so happy to see it on Wednesday. I can't stinking wait. I'm so excited. I feel like we shot this such a long time ago, and it was just at the beginning of the year. So it's just like, it's crazy. So much time has passed.
So, I mean, for a shoot that seemed to have such a serious undercurrent of, you know, intolerance and just straight out, you know, accusations and murder, you did seem to have some fun in some of the scenes. So what was the balancing act like to find sort of that middle ground where it could still be an enjoyable hour of television without being so dour, but still finding that respectful line, given, you know, the cognizance of the history that you're portraying there?
Yeah, I think, and I kind of approach everything with this just because I feel like, you know, life is so kind of bleak sometimes. I was like, you know what? I don't want her to be so like, oh, poor me. I went into it with like, I want her to be hopeful. even when it seems like there is no hope. And even when it maybe sometimes feels like, you know, because everyone has those moments where they're down and they're just like, okay, I'm trying to pick myself back up. I'm trying to pick myself back up. So I was just like, I want to approach everything that I do in this episode with a sense of like, okay, let's still try to be hopeful. And I think that because I was working with such a great team with Ray and Amanda, that it was just like, they are such beautiful and lively people that even when we were shooting, even when we were in our quote unquote characters, it's like, we were still us, and we still approached everything with like a sense of loving each other and loving what we were doing and being hopeful even for these characters. Because I feel like it's hard to play people if you're like, oh, I hate them, or I hate this situation, or I don't like this. Like, it's hard to like put yourself in that mindset, because then you just feel crappy at the end of the day. So I was like, I want to approach everything that I do with like just loving who she is and like, you know, trying to be hopeful. And I feel like this episode has a lot of that in there, you know, just like that redeeming quality and like finding your strength and like finding the light at the end of the tunnel. Even just with like all the extra characters as well. Like everyone has such a transition in this episode from being like judgmental and horrible and you're a witch to being like, okay, maybe there's more to life than just, you know, witchcraft and, you know, weird things we can't explain. So I really like that about this episode. I mean, that was like the coolest thing when I got the full script and I was reading it and I was like, that makes me happy that everyone comes together in the end.
Cool.
One thing talking to you, I realize is you're so different than Bridget is. And it's just a testament to how well you act. And I was just wondering, what if anything, did you pull from your own life or experiences and use those for Bridget?
Absolutely. I think I really, I mean, I always do that. I feel like the best, if I'm going to, you know, play anyone, I have to bring myself to it. So I think I just kind of, you know, we spoke on like how, you know, the woman must have felt during that time and everything. So I just kind of took whatever experiences that I've had throughout life, and also with loss, dealing with loss and, you know, losing people. Cause it is primarily, a lot of it is about that too. It's just like losing sometimes people you love and like losing people that you thought were there for you and things like that. I pulled from all of that. And I think that's I feel kind of like honored that you would say that, because it's hard to kind of show your privacy on camera. I mean, we choose it because we're actors, but it is hard sometimes. So when I was doing the audition, like my poor sisters, they always like read with me. I was doing it for hours and they were just like, why are you stressing so much? Like it's not like you haven't been through this. It's not like you haven't felt what this feels like. And I was like, oh, that is so true. And you just kind of have to, unfortunately, torture yourself a bit to get the shot and to make it look good and to, you know, kind of let people into your life. And I think at the end of the day, it's not really about me. It's more about what you guys feel and what the audience feels when they're watching it. So that's why I'm okay with doing all of those things. But yeah, it's not always easy, but it's worth it, because when it makes like good TV, good film, it's like, that's what we wanted right there.
Was there a particular part of the episode or a specific scene that you felt like you really enjoyed doing and you nailed it and you just loved that moment?
I really loved the moment, and hopefully it made the cut, but when it's Ray and Amanda and I, and we're sitting in the dungeon and we all like link hands and we just have this moment of like connection and just love. I loved shooting that. And I obviously loved shooting all of the scenes where like we had all the extras, all of the cast together, because those are really like intense scenes, long days, but just having like the gang together was amazing. But yeah, just that one moment was so pure. And when we were rehearsing it, we would dance around after we were done, and it was just great because it's so quiet. You know, when we're shooting, it gets really quiet. So then when we linked hands and we just all made eye contact, I was like, oh, we're family. This is so great. I love this.
There must have been some magic there, a kind of magic. See what I did there? Because, well, we had spoken to Amanda, and she had named the exact same scene as her favorite scene as well.
Oh my gosh, that makes me so. We did not plan that. I swear. That's so funny. I'm telling you,
she was texting you before you got on. Let's say this. Say this.
Like, it'd be really good if you said this. No, it was actually, that's just so funny that but I believe it though, because it was one of those moments where it was us three all day, and we just were together laughing and having just the time of our life, just pretending to be witches. It was great.
What was that like? Because there was a rather large guest cast. Like we had the witches, the mean girls. What was the relationship like with all of you, like working together for those 9 days or plus? Because I know there was some reshoots, right?
I believe yes, there was with Amanda. There were some reshoots that we had to catch up on. I don't know if she told you, but she got COVID and she had to step away. And I was like, so I was with her. We were with her for the first 3 days, and the irony of it is that she was wearing a mask the whole time. So we were like, how did you get sick? And none of us, you're the one wearing the mask. So it was very funny. And so we felt terrible. We missed her like so bad, but she had to, we ended up wrapping at that location. So I'm not sure how they reshot it. I just know that she had to go in a few days after I wrapped to do all the reshoots. But yeah, working with Jet, Shelby, and Ruby was great. Actually, I knew Shelby. We were friends before we even shot this, and I just happened to be like, oh my gosh, what the heck? This is so cool. I get to work with someone I know. This is amazing. So that was awesome. And then Ruby and Jet were just, they're such beautiful people. I still talk to all three of them. I still talk to them awesome. All the time. So it's really, really great. And just, I don't know, they were just so giving, and so they're completely opposite than how they are in the show. They would be kind
I hope so.
Oh God, that would be really bad. No, but they're like the complete opposite, and it would be so funny because I'd be like, witch. Anyway, so how's your day? It's great. Oh my God, I love you. And so it was so funny, just like the switch of them being so horrible to them being just so amazing all the time.
Yeah, I got to speak to Jet as well, and she seemed just an amazing person.
Isn't she great?
Yeah, really loved her.
Such a sweetheart. Oh, such a sweetheart.
So what's going to be your favorite memory of the time you spent on Quantum Leap?
Oh God, that's a tough one. You know what? Actually, and this really gives me a chuckle like all the time. So there's this scene in court where right before you kind of condemn us to, I guess, being burned at the stake. We were all sitting in those 3 chairs, and everyone's like screaming in the courtroom. And I don't know why. It was so hot because there were so many people. There were so many people in there, and everyone, you know, they're trying to like do their job. They're trying to make sure it was well ventilated, but there's just too much body heat. And we had stockings underneath our dresses. And I'm looking over at Amanda and I'm looking at Ray and I'm like, are you guys hot? And they're like, yes, we were absolutely burning. And so I was like, what if we just lifted up our dresses? And so then Ray just goes, I'm doing it. And he picks up his dress and he's just like full on stockings out, spread open. And I'm like, does that make it better? And he goes, I feel 10 times. And I was like, okay, I'm doing it. So we all just lifted up our dresses and we just spread out like this, just very calmly, you know, just showing the world our stockings, all our petticoats. But it helped. It was so hot. And so I actually have pictures. I have pictures of us just like, it's so funny. Wait, I really want you guys to see this because it was just so funny.
That's going to make the late night cut.
Oh, yeah. Please.
Yes.
I'm showing my petticoats.
Quantum Leap Podcast After Dark.
It was the funniest thing. And I was like, I have to take a picture. I was like, please take a picture of us. And it's just like, it was so hot. And I was like, I'm lifting this dress. I can't do it anymore. It was so funny. But that's definitely one of my top memories for sure. Just seeing all of us, you know, full on, just letting it all air out.
I think we just found the cover art for this episode, Al.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Please.
That is
I
the
will
thumbnail.
send you the actual photo so you have good quality.
Please do.
Hilarious.
I will.
gonna
I'll
ask.
do it.
Awesome. Thank you. I will follow up on that as well.
That's
so
amazing.
Funny.
It sounds like it was a really, really good time.
Oh my gosh, every single day. That I don't think I would like, we had really early shoots sometimes too. So, and I was working 12 to 14-hour days, which is pretty standard. But it didn't feel like it. It felt like so much shorter because it just, oh my God, it was so funny, so much fun. Everyone on that set, every single person was just welcoming and respectful and fun, and just they knew how to do it, which is great. So yeah, it was so much fun.
Really cool. So do you have anything coming up now? The episode is out and everybody's seen you and gotten to know you. Is there someplace we can expect to see you next?
As of right now, because we just got off strike, things are a bit slow, but you know what? I like that. It's like a challenge, just ... But yeah, as of right now, that's pretty much, because we haven't been able to work. And unfortunately, I mean, as it was amazing, but as I did this job, then we went on strike. And I was like, well, okay. But yeah, unfortunately, not as of right now. No.
Yeah, well, we're grateful that you were able to keep up with it and get it finished, because as Quantum Leap fans, we're in a unique position from many show fans, because we have new episodes of the series that we're able to premiere, in the fall, like they should have. So, I'm glad that, you were able to finish it the way you did. And
so was I. Yeah, because it was really up in the air. I mean, when Margarita had to leave from set, we were like, there was like a lot of talk saying that we might not finish the episode, that, we don't even know if we're coming back, because a lot of the crew as well, they were like, oh, I don't know if I want to cross the picket lines. I feel really terrible about that. And I completely respect it. And we would see them when we would go onto the stages, and everyone was really loving. Unfortunately, we, couldn't, I felt kind of bad, kind of crossing that as well. I would, show my support as much as I could, but yeah, it was really kind of up in the air for a while, just seeing if we're going to shoot again and if we're going to finish the episode. And thank goodness we did, because I think a lot of people will enjoy it.
We certainly did.
Yeah, we can speak for the two of us anyway. And I think Matt enjoyed it too. So we can speak for at least three of us.
Three of us. I love it. Oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to see it.
Yeah. So, I mean, we liked it, and we've really enjoyed spending time speaking to you about the episode. We try to keep these, to about a half an hour. We want to be cognizant of your time. But before we do wrap up, do you have any messages for the Leapers out there who are listening?
Of course. Never stop dreaming. And remember where you were before you got where you are.
Oh. Well, thank you, Madalyn Horcher, for joining us here on the Quantum Leap podcast.
Of course. It was my absolute pleasure. Thank you guys so much.